see the major strides made in 2017 by the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation. It's also Earthquake Awareness Week. What's on the calendar of events? All that and more as we turn the pages of this Tuesday's edition of Jamaica Magazine. Stay with us, it promises to be an informative show.
A strong IMF and economic reform program, reaping growth for the country, inflation and the debt to GDP trending downward, and the central government primary surplus 34% above target. Catch the full review of the 2017 year in review of the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service, Wednesday, January 10, right here on Jamaica Magazine.
Good day, I'm Lorraine Mendez, and this is your JIS News for Tuesday, January 9. $10 million have been approved as emergency allocation to carry out restorative works in parishes affected by heavy rains. Portland, St. Anne, St. Mary, and Trelawney have been experiencing flooding and landslides. Minister of Local Government and Community Development Desmond McKenzie has given directives for the immediate discharge of the funds. In a release, Minister McKenzie said the money will be used to clear roads that are blocked by landslides and any other debris. The funds will also be used to implement emergency roadworks where necessary. According to the local government minister, $3 million will be allocated to the municipal corporation of the two worst affected parishes, while $2 million will go to the local authorities of the other two parishes less affected by the heavy rains. The objective of the emergency allocation, Minister McKenzie said, is to minimize the trauma and disruption to citizens and to restore normality of work and school activities as quickly as possible. In addition, approval has been given for municipal corporations to use their special grant for repairs to take care of emergencies in their jurisdictions as necessary. Minister McKenzie said a comprehensive road repair and rehabilitation program will be developed after receipt of the assessment reports of the chief engineering officers of the affected municipal corporations. 5 communities across the country are to receive microzonation maps. This is to provide detailed information on earthquake hazards and to assist in the design plans for building. Director General of the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, ODPEM, Major Clive Davis, says this project will be carried out over a 2-year period. Major Davis says the country is located in a highly active seismic zone that experiences an average of 200 earthquakes annually. As such, mitigation efforts are critical. Other communities across the country have already benefited from the project.
The ODPEM has continued over a number of years to take steps to mitigate against, to prepare the nation for the possible impacts of major earthquakes.
Major Davis was addressing yesterday's press launch of Earthquake Awareness Week 2018. Earthquake Awareness Week started on Sunday under the theme, Preparing for the Quake Helps Reduce Damage After the Shake. Several activities are planned, including volunteer training for media practitioners and special awareness sessions. A series of town hall meetings will take place this year at correctional centers to address operations of the facilities and welfare of staff. So says National Security State Minister Pernell Charles Jr.
We want to wrap with you, we want to have a discussion with you so that we can hear directly from our probation officers, from our correctional officers, from our auxiliary workers, and so we can get your recommendations and start implementing.
Minister Charles was speaking at a morning of prayer and praise at the Fort Augusta Adult Correctional Center on Monday. He said the meetings will also keep the officers abreast of policy and operational changes to be made.
We also have a number of activities that we hope will build a better framework for the DCS, identifying rehabilitation officers specifically, and setting up the kind of transformation of our organizational structure so that it helps us to have better management and accountability.
And finally, the nomination deadline for the Tourism Service Excellence Awards TSEA has been extended to this Friday, January 12. The TSEA seeks to recognize individuals and organizations in the sector that demonstrate best practices and offer excellent customer service. Nominations will be accepted in several categories, including accommodation staff, craft trader, airport staff, tour operator, ground transportation operator, raft captain, attraction employee, and water sports employee. Completed nominations must be submitted as attachments to serviceexcellence@tpdco@gmail.com or in a sealed envelope and delivered to any tourism product development company office island-wide. The Tourism Service Excellence Awards is a component of the Tourism Service Excellence Program implemented by TPDCO and financed by the Tourism Enhancement Fund. The program is intended to select, showcase, and award the best in service excellence in order to establish internal benchmarks for the categories of businesses in the tourism industry. On March 3, the winners for both the individual and organization categories will be announced and awarded at the Montego Bay Convention Center in St. James. And that's it for JIS News today. I'm Lorraine Mendez. Thanks for watching.
The business process outsourcing BPO sector, employing more than 6,000 Jamaicans, putting the youth at work.
The kinds of work we are doing right now in Jamaica through our 40 companies established in this industry include applications like Netflix, applications like Amazon. So you're speaking to people about their credit cards. We are doing applications like tech support. So if you have a problem with your iPhone, iMac, or laptop, technical questions, those questions are being answered in some of our BPO operations. That's not Sweatshop.
Humana has over 400 agents here that when people call the US to query about their health plan, those calls are being handled in Jamaica. That's not low-end, you're working for one of the largest healthcare companies in the world.
The local BPO industry, creating employment, boosting the economy.
Up next, the major developments out of the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation as another year in review unfolds. Take a look.
We have made a commitment to the prosperity of Jamaicans. And we're going to do that through economic growth and job creation.
Concrete steps were made in 2017 to cement gains through the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation. Identifying bureaucratic inefficiency as the major obstacle to economic growth, the ministry increased Jamaica's business-friendly environment. On August 9, the government launched its gov.jm platform, a one-stop shop for state-related information and services.
Bringing the information together forces the bureaucracy to start to look at its business processes and engineer them for efficiency.
Meanwhile, work began on a national investment portal spearheaded by Jamaica Promotions Corporation, JAMPRO.
The portal will have three main functions: information sharing, online application submission, and back office interface among government approval entities.
An investor guide outlining the steps involved with doing business in Jamaica also took shape in 2017. On July 21, Minister Daryl Vaz was named chairman of the National Competitiveness Council. In April, Senator Don Webby was tapped to lead the National Investment Policy Steering Committee. And in December, Senator Aubin Hill was named Executive Director of the Economic Growth Council. Work continued in 2017 on the Special Economic Zone, SEZ. In January, an MOU was signed with Singapore to develop the SEZ regulations, which were later tabled in Parliament on September 12. By November, the Houses of Parliament approved an amendment to the SEZ Act to remove responsibility for the zone from the Minister with responsibility for industry to the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation.
This Andrew Holness-led government is here to facilitate.
So through JAMPRO, the Development Bank of Jamaica, Port Authority and the Factories Corporation, several projects were either initiated, continued or completed in the year. The entities partnered on 4 enterprise projects worth $134 million aimed at providing 27,000 jobs. In 2017, those projects created over 5,000 jobs in the business process outsourcing sector alone. At the Development Bank of Jamaica, $9.3 billion in investment support was provided for 73 new micro, small and medium enterprises MSMEs. 458 MSMEs also received capacity building training from the bank.
Improving the employability of our young people is of critical importance to the country's growth and job creation agenda. We must continue to help our people excel.
The ministry did that by employing Hope trainees across various agencies. Training through a sector skills council was also facilitated.
The next step will be to involve the operationalization of apprenticeship programs with the support of the private sector to address skill gaps experienced by employers. And this will lead to greater employment and productivity.
The Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation provided social housing in 2017. Through the Housing Agency of Jamaica, 168 service lots were delivered in St. Elizabeth. In February, Cabinet approved the merger of the Land Administration and Management Program and the National Land Agency. The agency's electronic titling system, sponsored by the World Bank, also continued in 2017. In April, the Real Estate Authority of Jamaica was formed. And on the policy side of things, the ministry hosted the inaugural Regional Housing Conference.
Water is critical to the economic growth and development of the country.
In February, the National Water Commission signed an MOU with the Heart Trust NTA and MIA to train 150 persons to improve service delivery. By December 15, a contract was signed for the provision of 450,000 solid-state smart water meters. This agreement complements the repair of over 3,000 leaking pipes up to October 2017, all part of the Commission's non-revenue water co-management project. On February 17, ground was broken for the $131.9 million Bay Farm Villa sewage project. It's one of 6 corporate area projects under the $12 million Caribbean Region Fund for Wastewater Management, CREW project. By April, a contract was signed for Phase 2 of the Port Antonio Water Sewage and Drainage Project. Over in Clarendon, the Palmetto Pen, Breadnut Bottom, Rosewell Water Supply Project was commissioned in August. It's one of 11 projects under the Rural Water Supply System that covered 7 parishes. The repair of 5 irrigation canals for farmers in St. Elizabeth, Manchester, St. Catherine, Clarendon and St. Thomas got underway in 2017.
The general vision is not just to put up square boxes that rise several stories. The vision is to build buildings that represent the future of Jamaica.
Through the Urban Development Corporation, UDC, work continued on the Downtown Kingston redevelopment project in 2017. In March, a contract was signed for the Phase 1 of the Government of Jamaica Parliament and Government Offices Oval Zone project. The Victoria Pier was reopened in December and the Accountant General's office relocated to the Oceana building on June 1. 2017 also saw construction work starting for the Red Rose Fish Market and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade headquarters on the Kingston waterfront. The Ocho Rios redevelopment plan also took shape in 2017. In addition to works on the Ocho Rios Fishing Village, construction continued on a promenade that links the town to the Ocho Rios cruise shipping pier. And through the Port Authority, the Logistics Hub initiative was pushed with the September completion of dredging works on the access channel to the Kingston Harbour. With the widening, the country can now accommodate new Panamax container vessels.
When you build a road, you open up development. In fact, they say that the road to development starts with a road.
And so 4 of the 6 major infrastructure development program legacy projects were continued in 2017. On October 5, the $20.5 million Marcus Garvey Drive Road Improvement Project was opened. In August, the QPS Bridge in Clarendon was opened at a cost of $700 million. The contract for the Mandela Highway Improvement Project was extended by $68 million. 2017 also saw contracts being signed to improve the Constant Spring Junction and Barbican Main roads. In February, a loan agreement was signed for the $384 million Southern Coastal Highway Improvement Project. Over in western Jamaica, the designs for the Montego Bay Bypass were completed with financing for the project being sought.
I've given the NWA a mandate, build road, but I have to modify it, fix road too.
And so $630 million was disbursed to members of parliament for pothole patching, bushing, drain cleaning and general cleanup in all 63 constituencies across the island. Having ratified the Paris Climate Change Agreement on April 11, the ministry drew down $300,000 from the United Nations Green Climate Fund in October. The money will go towards developing a country program for engagement with the fund.
I can assure you, therefore, that this support from the GCF can be considered as a first step on a journey towards the financing of many more projects that are in the CCD's project portfolio, as well as those that are still in the pre-planning phase.
And in November, the boundaries of the cockpit country was declared with an announcement that no mining will be permitted in the 74,726 hectare protected area.
We cannot put a price tag on the loss to our water resources and our biodiversity.
We are working 24/7, 365 to make sure that you can have a better life, to make sure that prosperity is not just a word, but an experience.
Developmental planning must precede construction. Risk analysis must inform all our actions. Codes must be adhered to. Construction must be sound. And of course, where construction is done outside of the codes, statutes and regulations, then enforcement must come into play.
June 7, 1692, January 14, 1907, March 1, 1957, and January 13, 1993. Common factor? Those are the dates major earthquakes hit Jamaica. An earthquake is one of the most unpredictable weather conditions. However, preparation as to how to react if one does occur can minimize loss of life. So, inform yourself of proper exit and coverage procedures at work and home in the event one strikes. Next, Earthquake Awareness Week Update.
Earthquake Awareness Week commences today under the theme Preparing for the Quake helps reduce damage after the shake. The Eastern Caribbean experiencing unprecedented seismic activities over the last 24 months or so. It was only last year that Mexico, as they awaited the onslaught of a hurricane, they were then shaken in the midst of it all by a massive record earthquake. Only last week, Trinidad experienced 2 earthquakes. Earthquakes are described as sudden rapid shaking of the earth caused by the breaking and shifting of subterranean rocks, or plates as they're called, as it releases strain which has accumulated over usually long periods of time.
Do a hazard hunt around your home, do a hazard hunt around your business, do a hazard hunt around your communities, and look for those potential things that may cause excessive damage or excessive harm or injury to persons. So when we see our light poles dangling, when we see our bridges having visible signs of failure, visible signs of strains and stresses, when we see that around our homes, we ought to be very concerned about it and we ought to take action. I mean, everything will have its price tag, for lack of a better word. However, the small steps that we take each day, each month, each year, goes a far way in our preparedness.
Does your house look as if it can survive a strong tremor, much more an earthquake? Does your workplace, or do your workplace, favorite restaurant, shopping area, or bar, or even appear to be sound? Would the structure of your church, my church, building survive? Should an earthquake strike during a Saturday or Sunday service? Ask yourself the question. As I officially launch Earthquake Awareness Week, I challenge every Jamaican to start creating a safer future.
When criminals disagree, they seek revenge. Murder, arson, rape, whatever causes terrible suffering. It doesn't matter who gets hurt. Women, children, and the elderly, they are the main targets. Don't support the criminals. Don't cover up for them. Don't take their money. Take a stand now for the right of our women and children to be free from fear and abuse. Silence brings violence.
A message from the Ministry of National Security.
Domestic violence is still prevalent in our society, and the government is assisting in many ways to limit, if not stop, this cruel act. The Victim Services Unit is one such example. Watch this.
The issue of sexual assault against women and children, including rape, is a major concern for Jamaica. The government is working hard to not only put away the perpetrators of violence against women and children, but also to provide support to the victims. One organization which offers tremendous support to the victims of sex crimes is the Victim Services Division of the Ministry of Justice. Last year alone, the division provided assistance to more than 13,000 victims.
The government provides this support for victims, and it will provide the support from the day you become a victim of crime. It will follow you through the process. If you have to go to court, it has various innovative approaches that is designed to build your capacity to go through your victimization. The court support, court orientation program of the Victim Services Division is one which has gotten the commendation of police and court officials right across this country. It has several components. Well, even before we actually get into the court, we had a phase where we provided technical capacity building for judges and magistrates across the island, prosecutors, police officers, in understanding the dynamics when a person becomes a victim of a crime. So then there is the working with court, where there's an orientation program which involves us taking particularly children to court before the court day to help them to understand the lay of the land. We actually now provide them with a sense of orientation to understand what it means to be ready for court, and we want to make clear that this is not coaching them or interfering with the evidence and the facts of the case. This is just dealing with the psycho-emotional and the realities from, going to court back and forth. We also realized that a number of children were being victims of sex crime, and it's traumatic. And we felt we needed to bring just these victims into group counseling to be able to deal with some of the issues. We call it an overcomers program.
The Victim Services Division provides support to all, inclusive of free confidential counseling for all ages, no matter the victim's gender or sexual orientation.
It has gotten commendation from victims. We have a 95–96% rating among the persons who we serve.
This is where the pages close for today. Catch our Ministry Year in Review features anytime at your leisure. Just click on our website or on our YouTube channel. Our social media pages also have loads of information on other matters which you may find useful. Until then, come back tomorrow on this same station when we explore other policies and programs being implemented by the government. I'm Theodore Henry, and on behalf of the entire production crew here at the JIS, do take care.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.